Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. It's no secret that going on the road is one of the most taxing things a band, or any artist for that matter, can do. Performing almost every night is both exhilarating and exhausting. The nights away from home can get lonely, drugs tend to seep into life for a lot of different reasons, and for bands in particular, what started as a communal endeavor can devolve into selfishness and self-destruction. It's at this crossroads that the legendary Americana group, The Band, made up of Rick Danko, Levon Helm, Richard Manuel, Garth Hudson, and Robbie Robertson, decided to call it quits. Somewhere along the way, we had lost our unity. None of us wanted to destroy the thing we love, but we didn't know how not to. Being on the road is a progressive disease. Indeed, the road was destroying them. Heroin had crept into several members' lives, and internal tensions were forcing them apart. Together they declared, no more. But they decided to stage one last show on the road together.
We wanted it to be more than just a concert. We wanted it to be a celebration.
On Thanksgiving 1976, at the famed Winterland Theater in San Francisco, the band performed The Last Waltz. Titans of music joined the celebration. Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, Muddy Waters, Neil Young, Eric Clapton, Neil Diamond, Emmylou Harris, Van Morrison, Ringo Starr, and more. Indeed, it turned out to be a celebration of something much bigger than the band itself. It became the celebration of an era in American history, an era that was coming to an end. The Last Waltz encompasses a musical and ideological transition occurring in America at the time. By 1976, the culture had shifted away from the free love and civil rights rebellions that defined the 60s. A new conservative populism had emerged that emphasized traditional family values, small government, and rugged individualism. Meanwhile, as Robertson pointed out, punk rock and hip-hop were about to give music and culture a good slap in the face. Glam star David Bowie was on the rise, the Talking Heads had just signed their first record label, The Clash and the Sex Pistols were electrifying young crowds. And a year later, the Sugar Hill Gang made hip-hop's first hit, Rapper's Delight. A new sense of irreverence pervaded music, and it would quickly phase out the earnest Americana sound that defined the performers of The Last Waltz. The band asked Martin Scorsese to direct a film of the concert, which maintained the name The Last Waltz. It would become known as one of the best concert films of all time, and for good reason. Scorsese manages to celebrate the band and the end of an era, while he simultaneously tells a compelling story of the artist's never-ending battle with the human condition. In several interviews, members of the band talk about the long years on the road. They recall moments of desperation, such as playing in total dives and having no money. But they also recall moments of excitement and energy, like meeting one of their idols, Sonny Boy Williamson, and touring with Bob Dylan. But ultimately, they talk about needing to leave the road because of its destructive and confining nature. As Robbie Robertson concludes in one interview,
"It's a goddamn impossible way of life."
The musical numbers that comprise the concert are thematically rich with these sentiments. Several songs celebrate human energy and vitality, especially Who Do You Love?
I got a tombstone hand and a graveyard mind. I turned 41, I don't mind dying. Who do you love? Who do you love?
And Such a Night.
Such a night. Such a night. Sweet confusion under the moonlight.
Others, like The Shape I'm In,
Lay in your nap, I save your brother. Looks like it's one or the other. Oh, you don't know the shape I'm in.
and It Makes No Difference.
In the dark, don't rescue me no more.
Counterpoint those feelings, noting the weakening of this vitality and lamenting that loss of human power. A final group, I Shall Be Released, The Weight, and Lawrence Ferlinghetti's poem The Loud Prayer, asks for an eventual release from that confining human condition, the one that is causing this sense of helplessness. So what makes the road so confining to musicians over time? The Last Waltz implies it has a lot to do with the inherent tension between the artist and their audience. The film references performers who struggled with the incessant pressures of performance and of constantly drawing on the self, many of whom therefore destroyed themselves through years of drugs and drinking.
No, you can press your luck. The road has taken a lot of the great ones. Hank Williams, Buddy Holly, Otis Redding, Janis, Jimi Hendrix, Elvis.
As film professor J.P. Tellot points out, the members of the band have simply tried to balance off their losses against their gains in experience and satisfaction, and then quit before it's too late.
I just want to break even.
Indeed, the very audience that any band must satisfy can be the downfall of the band. It's one of the strange paradoxes of the music business. The truth is, while the road is a great place to express yourself, over time it can weigh on that same expressive spirit.
We always seemed to get a whole lot more done when we didn't have a lot of company around, you know. Just, we were more productive. As soon as company came, of course, you know, we'd start having fun. And you know what happens when you have too much fun.
It can't be overstated how poignant it is that of all groups, the band was troubled by the harsh realities of touring. In his book Mystery Train, Images of America in Rock and Roll Music, rock historian Greil Marcus explains how they were a group of egoless, passionate friends, singing vocal harmonies that could help the nation heal after the divisions of the Vietnam War. They are, after all, the band, a group whose name wasn't flashy or ego-driven. One would think this strong five-way relationship would have the sturdiest armor against the external effects of touring. But drugs, and ironically egos, had them on the brink of implosion. It's a somber conclusion. Scorsese presents a few lights in the face of this darkness, and it goes back to the film being a celebration of the music. In fact, he forces us to focus on the music. In a genius bit of editing, the volume of the interviews has been purposefully lowered, while the musical numbers are kept at a regular volume. In other words, if we want to hear the interviews, we also turn the music way up. As the film says at the beginning, this film should be played loud. In a figurative sense, this tells us that all the tension in their lives is deafened by their musical expression, the transcendent healer of their troubled realities.
But actually, the greatest priest on 52nd Street and on the streets of New York City were the musicians. They were doing the greatest healing work. And they knew how to punch through music which would cure and make people feel good.
And no doubt, the band's style of Americana celebrated and healed people from all walks of life. They embodied musical elements of jazz, blues, country, folk, gospel, and more.
You know, if it comes down to that area, and if it mixes there with rhythm, and if it dances, then you've got a combination of all those different kinds of music. Country, bluegrass, blues music.
The melting pot.
Show music.
And what's it called then?
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll, yes.
Sure.
Exactly.
The second source of light comes from the final shot of the film. The band stands on stage with the camera tracking back into darkness. They are isolated, separate from pleasing any audience. The music plays like a celebration and a eulogy all at once. Here, Scorsese suggests the persistence of their musical spirit long after they're gone. As Tellot points out, the band, backlit against the darkness, seems to radiate a luminous glow, as if their very music had become a source of light, capable of holding back the gloom for a moment. The musical spirit which the band embodied, indeed the general expressive impulse common to all people, can and will persist. But the band's moment in time as a physical embodiment of that spirit on the road was over. It's no coincidence that the final song of the film is Bob Dylan's I Shall Be Released, a song that takes on a whole new meaning in this context. What we have can never die, never fade away, Robertson wrote in his memoir. We all raised our arms in the air and thanked the crowd. I adjusted the hat on my head, stepped to the microphone with what little strength I had left, and said, "Good night. Goodbye." The confinements of the road turn out to be not all that different from those of the human condition. People want to remain young forever, but that desire is always juxtaposed with the deeper awareness and acceptance of impermanence. The need for individual expression can often feel at odds with the culture or seemingly infinite void that surrounds it. But the last waltz tells us not to turn away or escape from these tensions. It tells us to celebrate them with all the fire of your expressive spirit, and for a moment, just a moment, completely transcend them. And so when you do, turn it up loud. Thank you for watching, everyone, and thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Squarespace made the process of building my website so easy. Their all-in-one platform is great. There's no coding, no installation, no patches, no upgrading, and if you do run into a problem, they've got award-winning 24/7 customer service. I've talked to a lot of you guys who have businesses and side hustles, and I do think Squarespace is a great place to grow those things or simply get them off the ground. So start a free trial, see if you like it, and if you go to squarespace.com/willscoder, you get 10% off your first purchase. So make sure you go to that link, and I'll see you guys later.